Okay, so now that we've actually completed the payment and rental calculator, just to determine exactly what sort of rental we're going to agree with the customer and that they're comfortable to pay, what we will now need to do is go on to actually set the agreements up for the customer, or at least create the agreement. Just in case you're quickly wondering, well, wait a minute, how does all of this work, and how do these sort of payments all calculate, and how do you work out what your profit is? There is a separate video that walks you through all of these 4 boxes. So for the minute, this is really all about just completing the agreement. So you've got a little macro button over here. So just in terms of agreement completion, or at least to set the agreements up, you just click agreement entry just here. So we give that a click, and it will take us into the actual agreement where we can sort of populate all of the details. So to be honest with you, it's pretty much like any sort of standard data capture form. We're going to obviously put all the customer's name and their sort of home address details in, and contacts, numbers, etc. What it will be really important to do though is make sure you put the annual mileage in here. And when I say annual mileage, I mean, you know, what is it that you'd be comfortable to see that vehicle with in terms of sort of a, you know, a no more than capping over the course of a year if that vehicle's out on rental. Most rental operations have a sort of a limit of around about 10,000 miles. But it's important that you do put that in there, and something that you're comfortable with, because this will be copied over into the terms and conditions, because the customer is fined 20 pence per mile for every mile or pro rata that they go over that on a weekly, monthly or annual basis. Okay, so if we, now that we've completed that, we move on to sort of populate the vehicle details. So again, it's all pretty straightforward. What we start to do is just put the make and model of the vehicle in, and all of the sort of chassis numbers and, you know, registration index and such like. Please remember also, it's really good to get the insurance in here as well, because it's the customer that is going to be insuring the vehicle. So what we can do is the PromptPay system that will go into the car, the little device, the start to interrupt device, also has a separate function where it can shut the customer's car down from working if they have got expired insurance. So we just program them in at the start and tell the start to interrupt device that, you know, the certificate of insurance will expire on a certain date, and automatically what it will do is it will require the customer to enter a code before they can move the vehicle on, or until they prove to you that they've insured the vehicle. Okay, so that will just lead us now to move on to general data protection and their marketing communications. So in terms of data protection, it's going to be quite important that we get at least 2 main contact preferences. So phone and texting is really, really good. If they've got an email, that's great. But whatever you agree with the customer, just tick the little boxes here at the top, so that we got permission to speak to them. We then move on to the financial information. So let's say, for example, we want to do a rental term of, say, just 3 months, then pop in 3 there to start with. 3 is always good, because for most hire purchase and rental agreements, something like 80% of agreements that are going to go wrong will go wrong in the first 3 months. So it's usually a good indication that, you know, if they get through that sticky period, they're probably going to be quite timely with their payments. So let's say that we agree a weekly payment of, say, £40. As soon as you enter that £40 into that little white box there, this pops up and just gives them a sort of an indication of how that translates into a monthly instalment, and also a daily charge as well. So where it's got the £5.71 here, if, for example, we had an agreement term that was 90 days and they go 95 days over, then obviously they're going to get charged 5 lots for £5.71. So it's just built into the terms and conditions as well. Once we've done that, we're just going to go down to the bottom just here, and we're going to put in the our own details, our own being you, the car dealership or rental operator. So put all of your information in. Really important that you put your website in and a contact email, because those get written into the terms and conditions as well. If the customer is happy with everything that they've seen in the terms and conditions, which we'll come on to and I'll show you in a minute, this is where they would sign and sort of print their name. Likewise, we could have a default signature there or sign it ourselves. which is no worries. But once we've obviously completed that, we've now got sort of a completed main body of the agreement. All we've then really got to do is just go over to here where the standing order mandate is, and just complete that section of it, which is, well, it seems fairly straightforward, but let's just give that a little click, and that will take us into the mandate itself. The first thing that's going to go in up here is the agreement reference number, because what we absolutely want to happen is that this agreement reference, which I would suggest you do, say the first 3 or 4 letters of the customer's surname followed by the registration number of the car that they're using, because we want that printed with every payment that they make to us so that it's easy to identify it on our bank statements. In terms of banks, this here is an instruction to the customer's bank to pay us this money. If they are paid monthly, well then we will collect monthly, but if they're paid weekly, then we will collect weekly. So in this case we'll do weekly, and we do a commencement date from when we first want the instalments to come out. The banking details that are getting populated over here at the minute on the left hand side, basically what they are is a request to enter the bank that's going to be credited. So that effectively is you, that's the hirer. So it's our banking details that will go into this section, and obviously you want the our name and address in here as well. Customer puts their own bank account and sort code in just here. So now it's a completed standing order mandate. So if they're happy with that, they would then sign the authorised signature and print their name. So now we have a completed agreement, and some of that information here in the fields has been sort of transferred over here into the terms and conditions. I will just show you a couple of little bits and pieces. First of all, you might well remember that the contract in this example was about 3 months, 90 days, and we do have actually a little penalty clause built in here. So if the customer on their 90-day contract, in fact you can see it's just here actually, on their 90-day contract they keep it for an extra 5 days unauthorised, then they would actually have to pay 5 lots of £5.71. So there's just a little clause there that's been built in. You might also remember that we put an annual contract miles in there of 10,000. Now I did say annual, although it's a 3-month contract, it's still pro rata. So just to sort of put that in English to the people that are renting it, 10,000 miles per year will translate into 833 miles per month, and likewise just under 200 miles per week. So ultimately, if you exceed those in your contract, your given contract period, you will be charged 20 pence per mile for every mile over that you do from the original contract term. Okay, so if we go on to the second set of terms and conditions, nothing sort of too fantastically interesting here. We'll just zip into the bottom. What do they do if they have an accident? It will automatically copy in your details here from your business, so it's just picking that up from here. And then into the final set of terms and conditions here. And again, if we just zoom in, you can see here that if they want to view your privacy policy, I mean in this example we've said that it's on your website, so that in effect would be your website details just there. And if they want to change their own permissions for GDPR, like they want to go from SMS to email for example, then it's picking up info at your dealership or email address and your website. It's picking those up again from when we put our dealership details in just down here. So that's nice and straightforward. And then just finally, obviously we're going to advise the customer that because of their predicament and there's the preference that they move on into a hire purchase agreement, that's the sort of hire to buy part of this program, they will be governed by a start interrupt and a rental reminder device. So if they don't pay their rental on time, then the vehicle would become immobilised following a warning. So that largely completes the overview of the rental agreement. I hope you thought it was fairly useful. Obviously if there's anything else that you need, you can speak to Rob or Patrick at promptpay.co.uk, and other than that, thank you for listening.